statement, there are basically 15 problem statements, right? But let's have a quick overview of problem statement first. The first two problem statements are basically designed or mentioned in order to sharpen your pointer skill in C, because the entire syllabus was planned with reference to the language C in mind. So when you want to have or implement something like linked list, you must have a knowledge of pointer and dynamic memory allocation. So in order to do that, these two problem statements are being mentioned. Then you have some problem statement, I think third, fourth is related to stack, a pure stack. Then fifth and sixth are related to queue. Then you have a linked list related problem statement. No, it was, I think, the number 5 is repeated. So 4 and 5 is for 3 and 4 is for stack. 5, then there's another 5 is for queue, and then you have linked list related problem statement up to 6 to 10, I think. So these all are related to linked list. Then you have a tree related problem statement 10 and 11, and then you have 4 other problem statement which is related to sort. So with respect to the coverage, I know that you can all implement this 4 problem statement, and today we are going to discuss this first two as well, and also I will show you the glimpse of how to implement stack, right? So this will be our part of discussion today. First of all, let me start with the very simple questions. What is pointer in C? Anyone? Yes, can anyone tell me what is pointer in C language?
પોઇન્ટર બીજા વેરિયેબલ નો એડ્રેસ કન્ટેન કરે.
Good. So I think pointer is a variable which contains the address of another variable. So let's first discuss how pointer is to be let's say we have the, whenever you are executing any, let this wait a minute. So whenever you execute any problem statement, it requires a storage, right? When you have a storage means that it's basically a it's always sequential. Your actual memory is sequential, as you know. It's something like this. It has two things. One is an address part, and second is the content. So this is your memory. Let us assume that this is your memory. So this first column indicates the address part, which has some value, which is I am writing in actually, and this is your actual content where you are storing some value. So let us say if you are storing hello, then this is how it's going to be stored. You have the content H, and on the next location you have E, then L, then L, and then O. This is how it looks like, right? And and each of this particular content has some address associated with. So it's 1001, which is sequential. So let us say if you are creating a variable of string, right, which contains hello. So if you want to create something like this, what you require is you will write something like character start. So this will be your initialization, right? So what this means, it means that your str is actually a pointer to character. Now because this is a string, what you will be doing is I will let you know how to, what is the meaning of exit, what is the exact meaning of this statement, I will let you know. Okay. So this is what you do once you write this character str and then you write something like this. So what it indicates that you have created a string and that string is actually referenced by str. So what this str will be doing, str will be assigned some value. So if you type printf percentage address are LD, maybe it may be something, I don't know the exact one, but if you type I think it's hex, percentage x in str, then it will actually tell you what is the exact location of str. So basically this is your str which contains the pointer, right? So when I write str of 0, it will give me h. str of 1, it will give me e, l, l, o. Why we require this pointer? Pointer is basically required to play with dynamic memory allocation. Now, what do we mean by dynamic memory allocation? That is another question. This is actually a dynamic memory allocation, but how it is better than the static one? What is the other example? If I want to write down the hello, then what you will do, hello is basically a string. So you will initialize it like something like this or something like this, right? Now what happens later on if you want to change this hello to hello world, right? So now there is no scope of changing it because you have created the size of the string as 5. So str can always contain a string up to 5 characters. But in case of, so this is basically a case of fixed memory allocation. Right? What is dynamic memory allocation? In the beginning, you will simply say that I require one pointer to a string. At some point of time in program, you came to know that that string should contain hello. So what you will do, you will actually initialize, because hello is of length 5, you will give some memory to that variable. You will play with that variable for forever, whatever reason, right? Once again, you came to know that now my str should contain hello world instead of hello. So now it means that I need to change this. What I will be doing is PLO. Then I will think this is the syntax for ELO, right? So you can always Google for syntax, right? Don't consider these as the final syntax. I'm not good at it. But what I want is you should understand the concept. Concept is that you require some memory at some point of time. Later on, you may require a larger memory or a smaller memory. So that means either you want to extend it or you want to shrink it. So for that particular reason, dynamic memory allocation is used, and most of the program for optimization purpose, you will always want that program should always use that amount of memory which is really required at that particular time. So you may argue that I know that it requires, or at some point of time it may require hello world to store, or it may require something else as well. So let's assign it of size 50. So it means that even though you require a 5 character, you are actually wasting 45 other location for your program. So that means 45 other location of main memory is occupied, which is actually being not used by your program. So this is not a good optimization practice. So what is required is you just use that amount of memory which is really needed. And for that purpose, you require a concept of dynamic memory allocation, which is widely popular, which was first introduced by C language. There are no pointers in Java. There are no pointers in Python. So we are not going to discuss that. What we are going to discuss is, I can discuss something on that as well, but that is out of scope of this discussion. So I'm not going to discuss it right now. What are the alternatives of Python in Java and C? Java and C manages dynamic memory allocation. Java and Python manages dynamic memory allocation. That is the another point of discussion. What you are interested, or what we are interested is in how it is being managed in C. So I hope you understand two things. First thing is what is dynamic memory allocation, and second thing is what is pointer. Pointer is an address, a variable which contains the address, and dynamic memory allocation means allocating memory dynamically. Dynamically means at a runtime. This you are actually allocating at the compile time. So at any point of time in a program, it will always going to occupy 50 characters for this string str. Whereas here, along the course of execution of a program, remember your actual program is not a 5 lines or 10 lines. It is actually a 5,000 lines or 10,000 lines. So when you are running so much of code, you don't require everything at every point of time. So better solution is you go for dynamic memory allocation. So that was about the conceptual aspect of this. Let us now see the problem statement, actually what you are going to supposed to do. So introduction to dynamic memory allocation, DMA functions, malloc, calloc, and free, etc. And first one is introduction to pointers, call by value and call by reference. Another thing which I want to share some light on it is call by value and reference. So let us say we are writing a simple program. It's basically a C program which I am running. So okay, this is how it starts. Remember, if you are using VS Code, then it's always good to have it, right? Some of you may asking that in the previous class that can we pass argument with main function. You can pass it, but most of the time you don't require it, or even if you require it, you can pass it. Actually, we will not discuss this time. But this is my main function, right? Now I try to creating another function. Integer swap. Not swap. Let us say I'm writing some function called increment. Inside that I'm passing some number, right? So what I'm doing now is I'm initializing a number, integer a. right? What I want is I want to increment this number by some value n. So let us say, so I will be passing two parameter. One is integer number, that means the number which I want to increment. And second is integer step. So basically what I want is I want to increment a by 10. So this is my requirement, right? And I have created one function for that. Now, what I will do is I will increment the number, right? So ideally what I have done, I have created one function. Okay, let us do it in this way only. This is integer, a is equal to integer, and then return number. So I print my number. So this is how it looks like. Okay. So if I execute this, first is gcc test.c and ./.out. So enter 10. What it is giving me is number is 20. So it works fine, right? But you have to return that number over here. Let us say I want to perform a task without returning that number. So whatever I am passing over there, that should be incremented. So if you now observe this function, just printing it before and after to see the effect. Here also I am printing before and after. And finally /n. Okay, so I made a changes in a program. I have just changed the return type of that function to a void. Again, ideally what it should do, I am passing a, so it should increment a, but that is not what it is doing. It is doing something else. Let's see what it is being doing. Okay, so there is an error. This is another thing. Whenever you are finding some error, you first have to look at this. This indicates your row number and column number. So this is my row number. So error is on this row. What is it says? You are actually having void function and you are returning integer. So that should not be the case, right? So now I'm entering some number 10. So now you have to observe this. Before executing a call, the value of a was 10. Then actually parameter in function. So then value of no become 10. So this is before number. After incrementing that number, value of NO has become 20. So that's why it's working fine. But when it comes back to my main function and I'm printing the value of A, it is again printing 10. So that means inside the function, whatever you are actually passing, that function parameter changes, but that does not necessarily affects the calling parameter. So even though value of A is assigned to NO, that doesn't mean that NO will be assigned to A. So they are not actually creating a replica. They are actually creating a copy. So when you are creating a copy, it means that whatever changes you are making over here in NO will not impact or reflect in the changes in A. So if I want to achieve that thing, then I should use a call by reference. So this is actually a call by value. You are passing value of the variable to the function. So here you are passing value of A to the function. Second example is you can do it by call by reference. So instead of passing value, I am passing the reference. Reference means address. So ampersand A means address of A I am passing. Now because I am passing the address, now integer NO is not a small simple number. It is actually an address. So address means it's a pointer. So now NO is a pointer. So now what you have done? You have simply passed an address of A to some another variable NO, which is actually a pointer variable and which is contains the address of A. That means it is pointing to A. So now whatever changes you are making, so R means content of pointer. So what I am changing over here now, I am simply printing that number first, then changing the content of it, again printing it, and let's see how it goes now. Successfully combined. So let us enter number 10. See the difference. You have entered 10. Actually that 10 has passed, but now instead of value 10, you are actually passed the address of A to NO. So now you are actually changing the something in NO. That will be changed to 20. And once again, if you come back to this, the main function, A is also being changed to 20. Let me give you more clear example. This was 10. This was my value of A. So instead of passing value of A, what I have passed is, so what this contains actually. So this is, so instead of passing value 10, I have passed 1001. And then I have says that whatever you are changing, it should be at 1001. So what I have done, content of 1001 was changed to 10 plus 10, so it's been changed to 20. Again, if I pass the content of A, it will print this 20 instead of 10. What was the case in previous case? This was 10. Then you have created, so this was my A actually. Right, so this was the address of A. You have passed the value, so another variable was created, NO. You have passed the value, that means 10 was assigned to it, right? Then you have changed the content of NO, so content of NO was changed to 20. Then you have tried to print this, so actually content of NO is only changed, so you have not changed the content of A. Why this is useful? It's very useful because even though we can achieve whatever we have achieved in this case, you will be using some return function. But let us say instead of returning a single value, you want to play with multiple variables which you are passing in the function. So your function can always return a single value. It cannot return multiple values, right? So the best example of divide and conquer, the dynamic memory allocation is whenever you are actually, not dynamic memory allocation, but call by reference. So whenever you are actually playing with the multiple variables inside the function and you don't want to pass the or you don't want to return that value because you can't return a multiple value from a function in C. So the better technique is you pass the reference instead of passing the value. So I hope this concept is clear. Any doubt till this point? We have discussed two things. One is call by value and call by reference. And we have also discussed dynamic memory allocation. Any doubt in this? See, these are very important topic, right? Because if you are going to implement programs in linked list, then these concepts has to be clear. Otherwise, you will face many problems. So, any doubt in call by reference? Okay. So, let me discuss one more next topic, that is on call by, not call by, but malloc and calloc. So, let us say we have this. Okay. So, this is an example of dynamic memory allocation. You have created one pointer to string. Now you are using I think malloc and calloc are defined in standard library.h. So now you can use this malloc function. Basically, you want to just give this. So 10 means that you require a 10 memory allocation. But because your pointer is of type character, you have to typecast it. So that's what we have done. And because I don't want to 10 memory, I'm not interested in 10 memory allocation. I'm interested in 10 characters. I know that character requires 1 byte, so I can straight away write 10, right? But instead of, let us say, character, I'm using some structure. So what will happen in that case? Let us say I'm using this structure data or structure student. It has some ID and sorry, there is no string in C. Some name, right? So what I have done, I have created one structure and I want to use it. So now, let us say instead of a single student, I want to maintain the list of students. So I want to maintain the list of entire class. Basically, this is how I can do. So now you have list of students, but I don't know the exact number. So I cannot simply write struct student class of 60, right? I don't know the exact number, or this number may get increased or decreased. So what I want is to use a dynamic memory allocation. So instead of giving a fixed number of students in the class, I'm saying that there are n number of students in the class. Now, if I want to allocate the memory for this, I don't know what is the single student will require. I don't know what is the exact memory which is required by a single student. So what is the better solution? Better solution is use the size of function. So there is a function called size of. Inside that function, you can pass the type of the variable. In our case, it's student multiplied by how many students? So 60. So your actually simple function malloc, if you see the syntax, it has only one parameter, that is size, right? So that means you can pass any number inside this, that many number of memory location will be allocated. But we don't want this kind of a blind thing. What we want is the exact thing. So exact thing is that you want a, so this is for class, you want it for, okay, again this is not the type of class, so what its type is struct student. In our case, in this case, character star. So that is doing, then I want size of, what is the size of single character? Let us say you want a character of 10 strings. So that means the size of string is 10. So what we will be doing is something like this. So I think this is malloc function. The only difference between malloc and calloc is syntax. So if you see the syntax of calloc, there are two parameters, size and size, but this is the type of size or size variable type, and this is the size. So instead of writing multiplication, what I am writing is size of character, and how many characters? 10 characters. Here I am writing size of character multiplied by 10. So if there are 10 characters are required, size of character is 1. So 1 multiplied by 10. So that will allocate 10 bytes. Here this is being changed to two different parameters. So first parameter indicates the size and second parameter indicates the number of elements. So, and one more thing, calloc actually initialize all the locations to 0. Malloc does not support to do that, but that doesn't mean that every operating system is not doing that. In case of many advanced operating system, you will find the malloc is also initialized to 0. But technically or theoretically, malloc is not initialized to any value, calloc is initialized to 0. So these are the two differences. So this is for allocation. Let it be simple case. These are the two options for allocation. One is malloc, second is calloc. Whenever you want to change the memory, so you have to use reallocation. I think the syntax is first parameter is the pointer which you want to change. Second parameter is the modified size. So now what I want is instead of 10, I want 7, and what it returns? It returns void. Void means that there is no need of this actually. I told you initially only that I don't know the syntax, but this is the syntax. So return type of realloc is void. Return type of malloc is also void, but then we are initialized it to size. I think this is has to be the same. Yeah, I think it's same. Okay, so this is for reallocation. And then whenever you want to free it, you should not use something, or you should not occupy something which is not required. So the better to free it. Free means that you are actually removing the allocation or you are deallocating it. So now memory is not occupied by str. So now if you want to, if you try to access str by some means, it will simply give you a runtime error. So this was about allocation and or dynamic memory allocation. After this, you can use this variable like any other variable you are using, right? So you can do something like this, you can increment it, decrement it, whatever you can do. So that's not part of scope of, or that's not in scope of this discussion. But this is malloc, realloc, calloc, and free. These are the 4 functions which will be used for allocation, reallocation, and deallocation. Any doubt? Okay. So then I think I want to discuss stack, but there is no sufficient time for discussing stack. So let us discuss something else which is more simple. So let us discuss a number sorting, bubble sort. So you have an array of numbers, let us say 10 numbers, and you want to sort it. Obviously, the first step will be you to take the numbers from the user. So see why I'm showing this program, because you must understand how to write or how to approach for it. Any program has always three parts. One is input processing, uh, actual computations, output representation, right? In order to understand this, you first understand what are the inputs. Input for bubble sort is, if you remember the algorithm, there are two input. One is the size of an array and second is the array elements itself. Here we are making that sure that size is 10, so it's fixed. Let us do it 5. Okay. So the next you require is you have to take the numbers from the user. So I let enter elements. Because there are multiple numbers, you require a loop. So what you will do, you will run a loop. How many numbers? 5 numbers. So you will simply say that enter number percentage b, and you will print I plus 1 because I starts with 0, and you want to print the message as enter number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of enter number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why you're printing I. And what you want is to take this number and store it inside array. So you are passing these three things. So this will make sure that you have taken the input from the user. Right? So my input is being, you should always verify it. Right? Just for making sure that it's what you have. Always write a program in incremental way. Incremental way means that I have done this, and I will first execute it before going further. So okay, so that means I am getting what I have entered, right? So now there is a time for a next step. So the next step is the computations. You want to perform a sorting. Let us say we are using bubble sort. Bubble sort means comparing adjacent elements. So basically you want to compare A0 with A1, then A1 with A2, something like this. So basically there is a pattern in this. So let us write that pattern. Let us say your number is starting with 0. If there are 5 numbers, you want to perform 4 comparisons. So instead of I is less than 5, you will start with I is less than 4. And then you will compare if A of I is greater than A of j. That means the number on the left, j is not j, but it is I plus 1. That means first number is 0 and then first. So 0 and first. If the number on the left is greater than the number on the right, then you want to swap this. So for that you require another variable. Obviously you want to perform swap operation. So This is how you perform swap. And this is just a one iteration. You have to repeat this n minus 1 time if you want to really short all the numbers. So once again, I need to repeat this n minus 1 time. So what I will do, I will simply write another for loop. So now instead of I, this loop will start with j, n minus 1 means 4, and j plus plus. Because j is not initialized, you should write integer j. So I think this should short my number. Again, I want to, the next task is output representation. In our case, output array is to be printed. So let us write sorted array. Right, so this was my input array. Then I am printing sorted array. Okay, so if I execute this, so first number 12, 23, okay. So this is sorted. Okay. So this was a bubble short which we have discussed. I don't want to discuss the program, but I want to discuss how should approach a program, because I'm not going to give you every program. But you must understand that there are three parts of any program. You have to consider the input processing. For input processing, you need to understand what are the input variables are required. Obviously, you require to have some logic for computations, what you are exactly supposed to do on the input variables. And then you want to represent your output, so you have something for that as well. So if you are very clear about this, then let us say if you want to write instead of a bubble shot, now you want to write the selection shot. So what you are going to do is simply starting with this and comparing a of I. Instead of a of I, you want to compare it with a of j. So in selection shot, you are comparing the first element with every other element. So if a of I is my first element, then every other means I will, sorry, if j is my first element, then other element will start with j plus 1. So I will keep on doing. I should write a of j here and then a of I. Right. So if you do this, and this is selection shot. Right. So I think time is up. If you want to ask me anything, you can ask. At least in the next week, you should be able to have a hands on these four experiments: bubble shot, selection shot, call by value, call by reference, and yes, so I think first and second. Then you have a selection shot is not there in this assignment list, but you can implement it. Okay. Any doubt? She has asked how many function arguments are used. Uh, in function, you can have any number of arguments. Means it can be n number of arguments you can pass to the function. Is it the question which you are supposed to ask, Dhara? Main function. Okay, in main function there are only two parameters. Let me just show a light on that. Basically, there are two parameters you are passing. One is an integer argument c, that is actually the number of arguments which you are passing. And second is a character star. You can observe this. Character star means that it's basically a pointer to argument v is an array. So, sorry, it's a string. So, it's a pointer to string. That means if you execute this, right? So, let me execute this. Number of argument is, if you observe, it's 1. Observe, it's 2. P. So basically, whatever you are passing after this file name, this is your name of the file which you are executing. So name of the file is the first argument, and then you can pass any number of arguments. And now this is test. So let us say what argument I am passing if I want to see that. Because it's a string. See this. So what I have passed is 3 arguments, a dot out, taste and taste 2. The first argument was a dot out, second was taste, third can be taste 2, and it can be anything. So you can pass any number of arguments with main function. But passing argument to the main function, it's always string. If this is the number, if you want to use it as a number, then you have to convert it to the number. Right? So I hope it's clear. So with this, I end our session on data structure lab session. Thank you all.